Hello, everybody. Today we are here and we are going to be talking about cord cutting rituals for mental health. Now, typically when we think about cord cutting, it brings to mind breaking up with a toxic ex, maybe trying to cut ties from family members, old friends, whatever, that are just so bad for your mental health and your wellness. But today specifically, I wanted to talk about the use of cord cutting rituals for your own self-care and breaking cords with things like anxiety spirals or looping intrusive thoughts, bad habits, old versions of yourself that you've outgrown, self-sabotaging beliefs, or addictive coping mechanisms. Now, before we begin, I did just want to point out that cord cutting, much like a lot of different witchcraft / spiritual practices, can be a little bit controversial in the sense that there can be this idea that there's a right way and wrong way to do things. I am personally of the belief that the way you feel called and compelled to do it is the right way. Even if it doesn't work, you'll have learned something. And so I would encourage you, if you do this a different way, if it doesn't resonate with you, or if you found a different way that does, to go with what works for you. This is just what works for me. I think the beautiful thing about all of us having such a different, diverse practice is that we can be inspired, right? We can learn new things and we can treat it as our spiritual playground, which I actually love. Now, for cord cuttings, I'm going to just walk you through one way that I would do a cord cutting. I find these really deeply effective because they combine psychology, like depth psychology, with symbolic magic, right? So those of you that have been here for a while know that I practice chaos magic. And so basically we have this really cool intersection of magic and kind of psychology where we can use ritual to bypass overthinking, right? Our brains respond to symbol and ritual. We can create our own psychological closure. Like those of you who read Witchcraft Therapy will know that I'm not really a huge fan of closure because it tends to rely on other people for healing, and we can't really do that. So this allows us to give ourselves our own closure, and it sends our brains a prompt. It strengthens our self-empowerment, right? So with this practice, we literally have the scissors in our own hands, right? We are grabbing the bull by the horns, we're grabbing it by the balls, and we are taking action ourselves. That's why you might notice I do this a little bit different than some of the stuff that is floating around there online. But I'll walk you through why I do it this way and how it might potentially help you should you try and do that. So, cord cuttings are actually a very powerful thing, so they should always be approached with self-love and protection, not punishment or self-rejection. So even if we're breaking up with like aspects, part of ourselves that we don't like, that we're ready to move forward from, it's important that we do this in the spirit of self-love and not in the spirit of judgment, right? It's the same as with shadow work. Like typically these attachments, these energetic ties come up for a reason. I tend to believe they were for some purpose at one point, right? Maybe even like the most terrible energetic ties we have with people, such as abusive relationships, sometimes there is something we can learn from it. Sometimes they teach us to listen to our body's wisdom, that sort of thing. So we should always do these things in the spirit of self-care and self-love, self-understanding. So for this one that I'm going to show you right here, what you are going to need is 2 objects. You can use candles. You can even use just like rolled up strips of paper. You can use, in Witchcraft Therapy, my first book, I have a cord cutting in there using sticks. Really just 2 items. One to represent the old version of yourself, or the thing that you are trying to disconnect from, whether it be a limiting belief, whether it be some sort of bad habit, an addiction, and then one to represent the future, more expansive version that is empowered and can be free from the thing that you are disconnecting from. You will need a cord. So as you can see, I have 2 candles right here, right now. I have them connected by a long cord, and I have them connected here at the bottom for a very specific specific reason that we'll get into in a moment. And then the way that I do it is I also will take protective herbs, and I'll make kind of like a protection bowl for the prior version or the things I'm trying to get rid of. I do that particularly because when I do these rituals for myself, disconnecting from parts or aspects of myself, I want to do it with the most protection, the most love possible, which is why I also, you might notice, have this little tea here. So this is a tea that I've made using rose, using protective herbs, that I have made in order to cleanse or wash my scissors. So these are the scissors that I'm going to be using. You can always use, like, if you have a type of ritual knife, if you have a pair of ritual scissors. I'm just using my kitchen scissors. But I like to make a little protective wash to wash the scissors, just to make, again, double extra sure that I feel calm, I feel protective, I feel like I'm taking magical steps to make sure that I am okay. Now, first of all, what you're going to want to do is identify the cord or the thing that you're trying to disconnect from. So for my little example that I'm giving you here, I have actually written out some feelings that I have about what I'm trying to disconnect from. So I'll give you guys an example for what we are doing here today, which is cutting cords to the belief that abundance requires suffering or undue sacrifice. This is something that I see in my people that I work with a lot, and it's something I've experienced as well, right? That there's some shadowy thing inside of us that makes us think it's somehow noble to suffer in order to earn your blessings, right? Now, the second step of this is really writing out and exploring how it manifests in your life, so you have a really crystal clear version of that. So I have here manifests in my life as blocking myself from opportunities. That's subconscious, of course. Choosing to do things the quote unquote hard way, and things like workaholism, not taking time to rest, not taking care of myself, etc. Now, if you want to find some really good prompts for how you can kind of define what you are cutting ties with yourself, I'm going to link a blog post below that has some fill in the blanks and prompts that are going to help you with this. But ultimately, we're just trying to get a sense of, what is the thought, habit, or version of yourself that you're ready to release, and how has it impacted your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. I do like to keep it underneath the first object if I can, just to kind of have that clear symbolic tie. And then you're gonna gather your materials. So we have all these things. You can use cord, string, ribbon, yarn, whatever the heck you want to do. You guys know me. I'm all into intuitive magic, which means I believe that there's, what's the saying? There's many ways to skin a cat. I don't like, where did that saying come from, by the way? It's so bizarre, but for some reason it fits. Okay, so now what you're going to want to do is also have a sense of what the version of you that is not held back by that thing any longer, what that future would look like. So I have here, I believe and deeply know abundance and opportunity exists everywhere and all around us, right? So there were fruit trees blossoming before I was born. They're going to be there after I was born. Abundance truly is everywhere, despite what our limiting beliefs and experiences might tell us. It is possible to simultaneously enjoy life and experience abundance and do it in the way that prioritizes playfulness, free time, and feeling valued. This is something that my work, really tries to drive home for people, because it is an absolute truth. And most of us have some experience of feeling that to be true, because when we move into a space of playfulness and fun, things really do start kind of snowballing in a positive direction. And I finished it by saying, I know this exists because I know it and have experienced it firsthand. This is where we challenge our limiting beliefs. Now I have that underneath the other object here. So first, what we're going to do, and I'm going to just kind of like walk you through a quick and dirty version, because I don't want this video to be, super, super long. But first I'm going to cleanse the space, cleanse the items, doing that with some amazing incense that I got here. sent to me from Bali, you guys. Isn't that amazing? So cleansing the items, cleansing the space. You can cleanse yourself as well. Cleansing, cleansing, cleansing. And then what we are going to do is you are going to take your items and arrange them. You know, I have my bowls already pre-filled here so we can just walk through it. I have my little protection wash tea made, and I have my my 2 candles tied together. Now, first thing is I wanted to mention is that one thing I've seen floating around a lot online is that people will do the method of tying these together, lighting both candles, and then allowing the flame to kind of sever the cord. I do not do it that way because I don't believe that that is you as a person taking an empowered action that leads a lot up to fate. There is value in it if you wanted to like read the wax after or read how the cord went or anything like that. I personally don't do it because to me it feels a lot more powerful to actually take the scissors in my own hands and cut it. So when people ask me why their cord cuttings didn't work, that's the first question I ask is, did you actually cut the cord? So what I do is I take some of this protective wash and I just try and wash the scissors with it, washing really the whole thing, trying to get these all cleansed, all protected, because again, the way that I view this is that if you are disconnecting these cords with yourself, you really want it to be done in the spirit of self-love, in the spirit of protection. So now that the scissors are cleansed, what you would do is take some time to meditate. You can put sigils on your candles, you can hold them, do energy work, whatever you need to do. But take some time to really get a good sense of like how it feels with that quote unquote block or barrier, and then getting a sense of how it would feel without. Then what you are going to do is, even if you have to say it out loud, say which each one represents and really lean into those visualizations of what would change and how that would change everything. Now, with full intention, what I'm going to get you to do if you are following along with this is to take your scissors and cut the cord while speaking your release. Again, if you need step-by-step instructions for this, I'm going to link a blog post below that has all that, has prompts, has all of this. So you can cut it and you affirm to yourself, I release this pattern now. I release this thing. I release this addiction, this habit. So for me, in the example I'm using is a pattern, right? It's a limiting belief. So I release this pattern now. It no longer defines me. And you actually cut it yourself. Now, I'm not actually lighting these candles right now because that would take, again, a long time, but theoretically, you would have your candles lit. Now, when you get to a point, so what I like to do is let the candles actually burn down a little bit and then cut it, and then even snuffing out the initial candle and letting the next candle burn. And as this candle burns further, really leaning into the version of the future that you have written on this piece of paper right here, meditating on it, thinking how it feels energetically, if that was true, if that was your reality. Because in essence, when you've cut that cord, that's what gets to happen, is you've given yourself that closure. It's almost like a subconscious form of permission. I give myself permission to release this thing and move forward in this way. Now, something else you could do if you wanted to kind of heighten your ritual would be to take your initial piece of paper and do a symbolic burning in a fireproof bowl. Of course, we don't want anyone getting hurt around here, but you could take that and burn it, and then dispose of your contents in a way that is eco-friendly, guys. Eco-friendly. And after, if you wanted, you could take your other piece of paper and journal about it. meditate on it, even sleeping with it under your pillow. I love sleeping with these things under my pillow for a little bit just to try and like really get it into my subconscious. Sometimes I can be a little bit thick, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, this all is a really great way to approach your habits, your mental health, whatever, in a way that is not only good for your personal psychology, but also good for your empowerment, transformation, and spiritual wellness. I hope that this was helpful for you. Let me know if you try this, how it works for you. And make sure to subscribe, drop me a comment, maybe tell me the way that you do your cord cutting rituals if it's different than this. Yeah, we'll talk next time. Bye.